For the first time in months, however, President Joe Biden has overtaken Donald Trump in national polling averages. According to the poll aggregate site 538, Biden took a 0.1% lead in the race yesterday. That is the first time that Biden has led since at least March, which is as far back as the website's tracker goes. The change comes after a series of recent polls show Biden narrowly ahead of Trump. Though all those results were within the margin of error, Trump has continued to lead in a number of swing state polls, most also within the margin of error. Meanwhile, President Biden traveled to Camp David last night. He will spend the next few days there with a team of advisors preparing for the upcoming presidential debate. The plan is for Biden to remain at Camp David until at least Monday, but he may stay longer if he needs to. As the June the 27th debate draws closer, preparations will likely include full-length mock debates. Campaign officials say the president is gearing up to hold Donald Trump accountable for his extreme record and the dangerous things he's been saying on the trail, namely ripping away reproductive rights, promoting political violence, undermining our democratic institutions, and doing the bidding of his billionaire donors to fund tax giveaways to the ultra-wealthy and corporations. So we know that Joe Biden is preparing to have a fairly conventional debate prep session. From my understanding from talking to the Trump campaign, and I'm sure you're hearing the same thing, John, that is not necessarily the case with Donald Trump.
Well, the words conventional and Trump rarely end up in the same sentence together, Chatty. Certainly on the Biden side, we showed an image there of him flashing a thumbs up as he was boarding Marine One, the presidential helicopter. That was in response to a question from a reporter asking how the debate was going. That's all he had to say, and really it was just a hand gesture. And they're being very tight-lipped as to how this is going to go. But we do know that Ron Klain, his former chief of staff and a veteran of Democratic presidential debate prep, is part of the team there at Camp David. Bob Bauer, his lawyer and the man who played Donald Trump in the 2020 debate prep, he will be there as well. And they're going to go through and prepare the president for what will be likely deeply personal attacks from Donald Trump, including about Hunter Biden. They encourage him, of course, to retain the presidential feel, but flashing a little temper, I'm told, not a bad thing. It's going to be humanizing. That'll be something that I think will connect with a lot of voters, particularly voters whose own families have struggles with addiction. And while Donald Trump and his team have long downplayed that he does any formal debate prep at all, Trump, well, he's not exactly winging it. He's been holding informal policy sessions where he discussed topics that will likely come up. Issues the Trump campaign has maintained are notable weaknesses for President Biden. We're told here at NBC that he discussed the economy and inflation with Senator J.D. Vance, immigration with former White House aide Stephen Miller, and former acting ICE head Tom Homan. He also held a session with former acting director of national intelligence Rick Grenell on national security. The senior advisor says Trump has also spent time meeting with Marco Rubio and Eric Schmidt. Next week, Trump is planning a debate watch party in Atlanta, which is set to be attended by several allies and vice presidential hopefuls. What is clear is that debate next Thursday, a huge early moment in this race. And to talk about it, we're lucky to have former aide to the George W. Bush White House and State Department, Elise Jordan, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist and associate editor of The Washington Post and MSNBC political analyst Eugene Robinson, and deputy managing editor for politics at Politico, Sam Stein. You just saw Sam host way too early and do so adeptly, I might add. That will be the last compliment he gets from me today.
Sam Adept Stein.
So, Eugene, let's talk about this debate. Both camps are being pretty tight-lipped as they're going to prepare, which makes sense. You don't want to tip your hand to the other side. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's just frame the stakes. Why next week matters so much.
Well, look, this race is balanced on a knife edge. You just went through the polling, by having inched ahead in polls that have been within the margin of error for a long time. The state polls still showing Trump with the lead. It's such a close race that anything, any moment when the two are together and you can compare them side by side, potentially has a huge impact on which way this thing is going to go, because it's going to go, obviously one way or the other. So it's a really, really big moment. I think the Biden camp really sees it as an opportunity to, for the first time, really get the American people to focus on this stark choice. And I think the Trump team, feels he can kind of pour it on in the way that he tries to pour it on. It's going to be fascinating. And it's also a weird format, right? Because no audience, there won't be any cheering, there will be the mics muted when they're not. So what I'm looking for is whether any sort of back and forth between the two of them is allowed. And that we'll see.
Yeah, it certainly, there's a sense that, because the Biden team really pushed for it, no crowd, because Trump plays off the crowd so well. He'll be deprived of that. There was a coin flip yesterday, and the Biden team won the coin flip, picked which podium to have, as opposed to the ability to go last. So actually, it'll be Trump who delivers the closing argument next Thursday, at least. To Eugene's point, the Biden camp, we can tell how important they think this moment is. Mm-hmm. when they wanted to have it. June, the earliest we've had a general election debate in decades, because they do need to remind Americans, this is the choice. They need to remind Americans, hey, this is who Donald Trump is and who he will be again.
Well, the Biden campaign needs to set the narrative early that Biden is competent and capable to lead going forward, and he absolutely cannot have a senior moment at this debate. That's what I heard from, I was in Wisconsin and Michigan 2 weeks ago for a lot of focus groups, and what I heard from voters, Democrats who support Biden, is just that they are going to be watching, and they want to make sure that he's up to the task. They might still be planning to vote for him, but they're uncomfortable about the age, and it really is an albatross that is hanging around this candidate and campaign.
So as John was just saying, after that coin flip, we now know who will have the last word in the debate. And according to CNN's, Biden's campaign won that flip. They opted for the right-hand podium on stage, which means that he'll be on the right side of your screen as you're looking at it next week. The podium positions will be identical to the candidates' placements during both of the 2020 debates. Trump's team then chose to get the last word in, marking the first of their debate matchups in which Trump will deliver the final statement. He did interrupt Biden's closing remarks back in September of 2020 debates. You may remember that.